the third and last episode of the Three Musketeers, where I'm talking with Fabien Lefevre. I'm going to start with a question similar to what I've already asked to Denis and Jean-Yves. What are his thoughts about performing on a high level in two classes, K1 and C2?
As Denis said, before trying, how could you know that you can't be the best in each classes? So, what we do now is we are professional. We are paid by our sponsor for being the best in the world, and we work as professional. So if we do it in one class, why not in two classes? All your focus and every day on that choice, you can be the best. So if we do it for C1 and K1, we can do it for C2 as well.
Yeah.
All is a question of how you are planning your training and how you integrate the new information.
That sounds convincing, which actually makes me curious for some examples of insights and what Fabien has learned from their multi-class racing project.
We thought we could have some transfer between each classes. So we worked all the time, both on each session. And we have seen that that wasn't the best way to work and to improve, because we had to switch all the time. We were not really focused on each classes. That was a bit the mess. So this year we decided to separate it, and as Denis said, we think there's no transfer possible. Why? Because if you take the C1 moves, he can't do the same in the C2, because I am just in front of him, and he can't paddle like in the C1 because the strokes are shorter. So it's not the same moves, it's not the same strokes, it's not the same weight, and lines are really different. So what we think this year is to really separate.
It becomes obvious to me that Fabien does see multi-class racing as an advantage for his personal development. So I ask him if he can elaborate on that a bit more.
The way the brain is learning. So if you don't paddle K1 or C1 every day, it doesn't matter, because the day after you paddle C2, so you are in the white water, you train your body in a different way, but you train. So it doesn't really matter if you paddle less than the other K1 or C1 or C2.
Yeah.
The point is you develop new abilities, and maybe that will make your next strength than anybody else will get.
Yeah.
Because they only work the same strength all the time in only one class.
I think they get bored, but it's my opinion.
And what is a big difference between racing individually or together in the C2?
We have to talk about the course.
Yeah.
If we don't do it, you miss lots of gates, because the boat is longer, the weight of the boat is really bigger, and you can't try to adapt very fast. You have to anticipate more.
So both Fabien and Denis are used to race alone. And I'm asking Fabien if it happens sometimes if they get into a fight, now they have to work with someone else.
You really have to accept that the other is different. If you know how he works, how he's thinking, that's easier, really easier. So the only way to understand that is to talk and to communicate.
And then of course there is the established elite, like for example the hochschorners and the skanters. And I'm asking Fabien what advantages he think they have compared to athletes like them.
We can watch lines as C2, but we can watch it as C1 or K1. I mean, if you watch the C2 crew, sometimes they are really they are not flexible on the water. I mean, if they cut the line, they are too short in tricky sections, and they can't really move their body. For us, that's natural. We do it every day, almost every day in K1 or C1. So that could be one of our strengths.
Concerning coaching, I can also imagine they've learned a lot. So I'm asking Fabien how that developed in the past few years.
We wanted to work with a C1 coach, a K1 coach and a C2 coach. But to manage this was really heavy on shoulder. So we decided to work with Jean-Yves, who was my coach at the beginning. And he got good ideas for Denis, so it worked. And we said, okay, if we want to do something else than the other C2 crew, maybe we get a K1 coach. But sometimes, at the beginning, you have a lot to learn in C2.
Yeah.
You have a lot to learn for the coordination and technique and technical stuffs. So we had to see other C2 coaches. So what's strong in France is that you have lots of coaches, and if you need an inquiries, you can pick up somewhere. You go to see a coach and you ask him, okay, I get a problem here. Don't really give me the solution, but help us to find it.
Lately you do see athletes racing in 2 classes. What do you think the benefit will be for the sport on the longer term?
It's very good for our sport, because if we show that we can do both, maybe it will help the C2 class to survive in the Olympic program. Maybe in clubs everywhere in the world. In each club, people are going to teach K1, C1 and C2 together. So I think it will help our sport to improve probably.
Yeah.
We don't know yet, but if we can give the first step, it should be good.
I can also imagine it takes more energy to compete in 2 classes, and I'm curious where Fabien gets his energy from if he needs to reload and what inspires him.
I get my family, I'm married and I have a kid, 3 years and a half, so it's easier for me to disconnect and to relax, to get strength from something else than the slalom training racing system. And it helps me to learn life in general and to improve as a human being. Sport for me is just a way to improve as a human being. I don't care about money, I don't care about the color of my medals, even if I love to win. Is that what sport brings me to improve as a human being? Because tomorrow I will stop, and I just want to be happy and free. And I don't want to have something in my bag that I will get on my shoulder all my life because of if I didn't success or anything. Maybe I talk like this because I was champion a few times in my life, so that's easier for me to have a different point of view now.
And my last question is what he thinks would be a good development or contribution for the sport.
Big stars of the slalom discipline, we have to spend a bit of our time for developing our sport after the career, because during it, it's quite hard. We have family, the sport training and racing, the business on side, and that's quite a lot. We can't really be focused on developing our sport on side, but after our career, maybe we can do it. Maybe that's the next part of our job. We don't know yet, but yeah, that's a way to improve and to keep a place in the Olympic program. Being universal, and for that we need for sure money, but champions to do it.